It's 1 a.m. on a work night. You should be sleeping, but instead, you're lying in bed doom scrolling on Amazon, looking for something to excite you. You come across this Marge Simpson chia pet, and in your sleep-deprived state think,
"This is the funniest thing I have ever seen. I have to have it."
because you earn around the median income in America, you make about $53,000 a year, or $25 an hour. So at $22, Chia Marge will only cost you 1 hour of work. That doesn't sound so bad for something that'll make you giggle for a while, so you hit buy it now, and a day later it's on your porch. But here's the thing. You've fallen into a trap. Marge didn't just cost you an hour of work because you don't really make $25 an hour. That may have been what your employer told you they'd be paying you when they offered you the job, but it's not the reality. In truth, your actual wage is probably less than $10 an hour, maybe even less than $5 an hour. If you're someone who makes decent money on paper, yet when all is said and done, you find yourself struggling to stay on top of your bills and save money, it's probably because you've fallen for the same trap many of us have. And while analyzing the price of any purchase based on how much money you make and how many hours of your life it will cost you is a good way to look at your money, it doesn't work if you're using fake numbers.
Okay, children, let's start the day with a few new math problems. What is 5 times 2? Yes, Clyde.
12?
When most people think about their finances, they only think about their gross income. But as any business owner could tell you, gross income isn't really all that relevant when it comes to assessing the health or the profitability of a business. And this exact same thing is true in your personal finances. What's really important is the net income after all the expenses are accounted for. This is your true actual profit. Like, a business that makes $1 million a year might sound like it's thriving on paper, but if it requires $2 million a year to operate, then it's gonna go bankrupt. So when it comes to your income, you might think that you're making $25 an hour, but that is far from your actual profit margin. Now, we have a lot to talk about in this video, but just before we get too far into it, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is a service that I'm actually using to make this video, and that I've also used to make many of my other videos in the past, and that's Storyblocks. Storyblocks is a stock media service where you can find all sorts of high-quality creative assets like 4K and HD stock footage, templates, music, sound effects, pictures, and more with a simple search of whatever you're looking for. This is where I find most of the B-roll footage and background music I use, and it quite literally saves me hours when I'm editing my videos. Now, typically with these types of services, you're capped at how many resources you can download based on what membership tier you have, or sometimes you even have to pay per download, which means that the cost can get pretty high pretty quick. It also means that if you download something that you don't end up using, well, too bad, you've wasted your money. But with Storyblocks, one set monthly or annual fee gets you unlimited access to their entire library. So you can download as much as you want, play around with different options, and find the best content for your project without limitations. Everything on the site is 100% royalty-free and pre-licensed, so you can just link your YouTube channel ID, and then you never have to worry about copyright claims. To get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head over to storyblocks.com/accordingtonicole or click the link in the description. Okay, so as we know, taxes take away a big chunk of your paycheck before it even hits your account. Add in health insurance premiums, maybe union dues, and whatever other deductions you might be subject to, and you've likely lost at least 25 to 30% of your income right from the jump. But this isn't even scratching the surface. Let's consider the fact that you may work 8 hours a day, but it might take you an hour to get to work and an hour to get back home, and probably also another hour to get showered and dressed and get your lunch packed in the morning. So that 8-hour day is actually more like 10 or 11 hours. $25 an hour for 8 hours of work is $200. But once we take out those taxes, we're automatically down to $150. And when you spread that over the 10 hours of your life that you're actually dedicating to your job, now you only make $15 an hour. And even this is just the beginning. Let me ask you this. How do you get to work? Do you drive? Do you take the bus? Either way, that's another expense in the business that is your life. You might have a car payment plus gas and insurance for a vehicle that you mostly only really need to get back and forth to work, which altogether is costing you thousands of dollars a year. You might be spending hundreds of dollars a month on public transportation, and if you're really unlucky, you might need both. When you do the math, that will easily shave another $4 or $5 off your hourly wage, so now we're down to $10 an hour. Then you have to account for all the other miscellaneous expenses that you incur just to be able to do your job. Things like business attire, haircuts, maybe manicures or dry cleaning so that you look professional. Maybe you need to arrange childcare or hire a dog walker since you're not home to take care of your kids and pets. Plus, there are all the things that you end up buying as a result of being so busy and burnt out. Like maybe you buy lunch out once or twice a week because you don't always have time to pack one at home. Maybe you grab coffee from the drive-thru on your way into the office in the morning. Maybe you pay a guy to cut your grass and shovel your snow because you simply don't have the time or energy to do it yourself in the evening. All of these things are operating costs that you only incur because you're employed. They're business expenses. And when you factor them all in, you'll likely see that you're really only earning $7 or maybe $8 an hour. But wait, there's more. Everything that we've discussed so far is directly related to your job itself, right? Commuting, work clothes, daycare, yada, yada, yada. But these are far from the only expenses that you have to cover in order to operate. You still need to pay for all the other fixed costs that come with just being alive, like your rent or mortgage, your groceries, your phone and internet bills, clothing, dentist appointments, all that fun stuff. And when you factor all these costs into your budget, you'll likely find that if you're being paid $25 an hour, your actual net profit is somewhere in the realm of $3 or $4 an hour. And this is how much you really make. It's how much you get to keep when all is said and done. And that's the true hourly wage that you need to be basing your spending off of. It's kind of crazy to think about because I got my first retail job when I was in high school, and I was being paid about $10 an hour. I lived at home for free. I didn't have a car. My work was like a 10-minute walk straight from my high school. I could wear whatever I wanted, and because I had almost no expenses, I was technically making more as a teenager 15 years ago than the average adult worker makes today. That's kind of messed up. But all of that is to say that no, Chia Marge is not just an hour of your life. She's more like 4 or 5 hours. Would you really want to work for half a day or more for a dumb trinket? Probably not. I mean, I sure wouldn't, but obviously this isn't about chia pets. I don't even know why I chose to use a Marge Simpson chia pet as an example. I just thought it was kind of funny. It means that when you're too tired to cook, that $30 DoorDash burrito costs you almost an entire day of work. And don't get me wrong, I like Chipotle as much as anyone else, but imagine working for 6 or 7 hours straight and then being given one burrito as payment. You'd never accept that, but you do all the time. This was a revelation that I had a few years ago with my own job. For 13 years, I ran a business where I was able to charge clients over $100 an hour for my service, which on paper sounds like a ton of money, but it wasn't. Because of the drive time lost between appointments, an 8 or 9 hour day only translated to about 4 hours of billable work if I was lucky. I was spending $500 a month on gas alone, plus car insurance and wear and tear on my vehicle. I had to pay for business insurance and the equipment I needed to do my job and the clothes that I wore to work. Then I had to do hours of unpaid work each week, like invoicing and scheduling and emails and phone calls and bookkeeping. And of course, I had to pay taxes like everyone else too. When all was said and done, I was really making closer to $20 an hour. And then once I paid my mortgage, utilities, groceries, toiletries, all the other life essentials, my disposable income was more like $5 or $6 an hour. And that was before I even put anything away for savings or investments. And when I realized this, I started to see salaried and waged work as kind of a scam, and one that apparently even self-employment doesn't necessarily absolve you from. More importantly, I started to see every potential purchase not just as a number on a price tag, but as a calculation of hours of my life. Do I want to work 20 hours or half a week just to afford a $100 pair of shoes? No, not really. Do I want to work 300 hours or nearly 2 months to get the newest iPhone? God, no. Or how about working for 5 years to pay for a $50,000 car? Absolutely not. I think about this a lot when I see people online going apeshit for whatever new microtrend is popular at the moment, whether it's a new Starbucks cup or a water bottle of some sort or an overpriced viral skincare product or some stupid toy, really whatever it is. And I think, you are literally trading days or weeks or months of your life for crap. And I don't mean that judgmentally. People can obviously do whatever they want. I just don't think that most of them realize that they're selling their bodies and their souls for things that they don't even really care about. Things that will be in a landfill in no time. And we haven't even touched on the opportunity cost of not investing that money for the future. If you interviewed for a new job tomorrow and they offered you the position and told you that you'd be earning $5 an hour, I can pretty much guarantee that you wouldn't take the job. If you were told that for every day you worked, you'd be compensated with 2 Crunchwrap Supremes and a large Baja Blast, you'd be insulted, and rightfully so. But that's basically what this boils down to. And I think that all of this perfectly illustrates 2 things. The first of which is the importance of frugality. In truth, I've come to kind of hate the term frugal. I think it has a negative connotation that makes people think that it's a lot more extreme than it is. Like, I have no doubt that there probably are some people out there living like they're on that show, Extreme Cheapskates, but that's not really what frugality is about. or at least that's not how I see it.
I have made my own little coffee device out of an old sock, a cup, and a twisty tie.
The term I prefer is financial responsibility because it's not about eating ramen every night and wiping your ass with leaves. It's just about having realistic expectations of what you can actually afford, what you actually value, and what you actually need, and then adjusting your spending habits based on that. Because, like I was just saying, this isn't really about dollars and cents. It's about hours and days and months and years of your life. Like, money is just a representation of your time and labor, but time is a finite resource for all of us. And so for every dollar you spend, you are essentially committing yourself to having to work longer hours to recuperate those funds. And that ultimately translates to less time with your friends and family, less time enjoying your hobbies, less time relaxing or sleeping. If you've been watching my channel for a while, then you've undoubtedly heard me bitch and complain about work many times in the past, but my real gripe has never actually been about any particular job or task or customer. It has always been about the fact that it was taking me away from my real life. That while I was at work, Levi was home alone, waiting for me and getting older, and now he's gone. My mom is getting older, my friends and I are all getting older, and our lives are getting more complicated and separated. I was losing time with the people I actually care about. My 20s came and went, I'm basically in my mid-30s now. I just want to spend as much time as possible doing the things that make me happy, not just feigning an interest in the petty problems of strangers. Which leads to the second point, the importance of separating your income from your time, of finding a way to make money that isn't directly tied to the number of hours you work, so that increasing your income doesn't have to mean working longer days. Or just so that you can free up a bunch of your time while maintaining your current income if it is sufficient. There are lots of ways you can do this. There are jobs that pay based on results rather than hours, like working in sales, for example. Freelancing in almost any field lets you set your rates based on what you produce rather than how long it takes you to produce it. Examples could be anything from graphic design to building websites to bookkeeping, video editing, you name it. Starting your own business, depending on the nature of that business, can give you the same flexibility or allow you to hire a team of people who can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you so that you can take on more clients or more jobs or more projects without you actually having to put in the hours yourself. Starting an online business specifically, like an e-commerce store or like selling a digital product of some sort, can give you a source of income that is mostly passive after the initial creation and setup. I've made several videos in the past diving deeper into different options and methods, so I'll link to a few of them. But this mindset of trying to separate my time from my income is a lot of what drove me to start here on YouTube. I mean, truly, I never thought that my channel would get to this size or be something that I could live off of, but I knew that whatever size it could grow to wouldn't really be relational to the amount of hours I'm spending on it. Like, as my audience grows, my income will likely increase over time, even though the amount of time and effort I'm putting into each video will stay relatively the same. And actually, I've gotten faster over the years as I've become more comfortable talking on camera and more proficient in editing. Resources like Storyblocks have really saved me a lot of time too. Technically, I could hire out for various parts of this process as well, but I don't really want to at this point. And of course, we couldn't not talk about investing because investing is the truest form of passive income in the world, and it's accessible to everyone, whether you have $1 to invest or $1 million to invest. As I mentioned earlier, wasting money on dumb stuff isn't just a waste of those specific dollars you've spent, but even worse, it's wasting the opportunity cost for you to invest that money and let it compound and grow. Money invested in the stock market tends to approximately double every 10 years. So $100 spent today would actually be worth $200 in 10 years, and $400 in 20 years, and $800 in 30 years, etc., etc. Historically speaking, people's wages rise at a much slower pace, which means that in the long run, investing is actually a better source of income than your job will ever be. Like, it would be impossible for you to compensate for the opportunity cost of not investing just by working more or working harder. And when you do the math and figure out your true net wage, it becomes all the more important. If you're only pocketing $3 or $4 or even $10 an hour for your work, you will always struggle. And listen, I understand as much as anyone that work occupies a huge chunk of our lives, and that doing a job that fulfills you or working with a team of people that you like can make that chunk of life feel a lot less burdensome. I get it. But it's important to remember that at the end of the day, the number one reason that you go to work is to make money so that you can afford your real life, your home life. If you find yourself living paycheck to paycheck or drowning in debt as so many people are today, no amount of camaraderie with your office BFF is going to change that. When you find yourself old and feeling ready to retire, but find that you're unable to do so because you never saved and invested for retirement, the enjoyment that you felt from doing a job that you liked isn't going to help.
you don't like your job, you don't strike. You just go in every day and do it really half-assed. That's the American way.
So ruthlessly pursuing higher paying opportunities needs to be a priority. Lowering your personal expenses so you can keep more of the money you make needs to be a priority. And being an active spender rather than a passive one absolutely needs to be a priority. That means spending money with intention in a way that aligns with your personal goals. Not just impulsively buying shit from Amazon or Temu or TikTok or ordering food delivery every night because you're tired or whatever. Don't spend 5 hours working to buy a Marge Simpson chia pet. Don't be a bystander in your own life. If you like this video, like the video, subscribe for more if you haven't done so yet. I'm getting very close to 200,000 subscribers and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at according_to_Nicole. Don't forget to check out Storyblocks, especially if you work in a creative field. It is an invaluable resource. It's been amazing. I'll leave a link down below. And let me know your thoughts on all of this. I'd be very curious to know if you've ever actually calculated your true net wage or how it compares to the wage that you're paid on paper. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.